Hello and good day. I am Denis M. Judilla, a faculty of the Department of Fine Arts, University of San Carlos. Before I begin, I would like to extend my gratitude to the commonplaces in our lives online conference and its organizers, namely Dr. Hope Sabampan Yu, the Cebuano Study Center, the Lugway Conversation Series Committee for this opportunity, for their patience and their guidance. Today, I will present to you my article, Heart of Horror, a proposed narrative design for Cebuano horror and morality. In the rich tapestry of Cebuano culture, the concept of mugna, which translates to create, holds a significant place. The term embodies the Central Visayas region's collaborative and creative spirit that is central to its native humanities and cultural expressions, which the late historian, culturist, and educator, Professor Madrilena de la Serna, described as the intangible heritage. Mugna is also about the communal and participatory process that brings about the formation of something new and meaningful within the cultural context. Drawing from my personal childhood experiences of bedtime stories about supernatural encounters that are prevalent in Naga, Cebu, as heard and experienced by my mother, it can serve as another concrete example of mugna in the realm of literary arts and storytelling in the subgenre of moral horror. These narratives are a form of mugna that can give shape to the collective psyche, influencing how communities perceive and influencing how communities, particularly its young, perceive and interact with the world. A proposed narrative design for Cebuano moral horror aligns with the concept of mugna, where the creation process is not solely about the final artifact, the story. It is also about the emotional journey and the cultural significance embedded within the story. Between the years 1985 to 1995, I would spend summers at my maternal grandparents' residence in Central Poblacion, Naga. My mother and my grandmother would tell tales of the supernatural, effectively scaring us children to sleep and imparting wisdom that comes from the fear of the dangers that dwell in the dark beyond our bedroom windows. To preserve time, what follows are only summaries of three such tales that I remember well, because I have heard these told and retold often in those childhood summer nights. For those who wish to read the complete contents of each tale, please refer to my article's appendix, which I made accessible through this QR code, which could lead to the file in the Google Drive. The first tale, Manoy Piping and the Shadow. My mama's young neighbor, who abides to his parents' strict curfew, suddenly missed the last bus and was compelled to hike home during a moonless night, with only lampposts marking the miles of the long road between Minglanilla and Naga. At one such lamppost, the youth encountered a lone shadow, seemingly without a caster. He would have turned and fled from the apparition, but he remembered the folklore regarding how the others would be able to cast off their shadows to trick their prey to turn tail and run straight into their waiting maw and claws. The youth decided to move toward the casterless shadow and struggled with dread for each step forward. Once he passed the shadow, He ran all the way home and collapsed inside his house and was unconscious for several days. His hair turned white and never regained its boyish dark sheen. Mama's Brothers and the Capirosa. My mama's brothers maintained a prank on drunks at open parties during fiesta or funeral wakes. The eldest brother, who was also the tallest, would don the guise of the capirosa, a well-known local phantom, and scare the drunks away, leaving unfinished and unopened bottles of liquor for my mama's brothers and their friends to swipe and enjoy for their own leisure. When Mama's younger brothers took on the prank for themselves, they had a friend dress up as the Capirosa and went out only to face the real phantom itself. Since that night, Mama's brothers did not do the prank ever again. Mama and the Hands of Night. As a teenage girl, Mama and her friend Val stayed up late one night, learning to play the guitar at the door stoop. It was a moonless night and only light came from inside the house. Suddenly, shadows in the shape of many hands reached out from the darkness towards the light, towards the girls. Frightened, the girls went inside the house and waited until my mama's oldest brother came home. I will now outline the proposed narrative design of Cebuano moral horror, which integrates native folklore or lower mythology with moral storytelling. This outline will derive this narrative's design's unique aspects, particularly how it employs universal fears and moral values from the common features of my recollected tales. Beginning first with the characters, the people involved in the narratives. The protagonist and other personae are close relatives and close friends to the narrator, in this case my mother, and so in turn with the audience, in this case my brothers and I. This personal proximity gets enhanced when the narrator would make use of personal pronouns such as I's, we's, and you's in the story's telling. This pedagogical strategy, though basic, is effective since the personae are known to the narrator and the narrator is known to the audience, thus establishes the truth of the moral. Another important aspect to note is that all of the tale's protagonists were young, of teen age. The eldest characters featured in the tales, Manoy Peping and Manoy Boydi, were college students. The story's setting is the location or locations in which the story takes place. In all three tales, the essential setting is that of the home. Manoy Peping's journey home. Boydi's and his brother's pranks around their hometown. Mama at home with her friend Val late at night. The plot of all three tales follow a common series of events. The teenage protagonist breaches an instruction, such as Manoy Peping's curfew, Mama's brothers and their friends' Capirosa prank, and Mama's own breach of curfew. This infraction incurs a supernatural encounter of potentially fatal consequences, to be spirited away. All three tales conclude with the protagonist's near miss or narrow escape to survive so as to pass on the theme, the moral. The recurring theme, the monomoral, can be expressed variably, but singular in meaning. Stranger danger, youth is not invulnerability, danger happens at home, Good children go to sleep at night, while naughty children get taken by the night, never to be seen or heard from again. That was how preteen me thought that the lesson was. But now, the 43-year-old me, who has children of my own, now believes the monomoral to be that evil is an ancient monster as old as humanity that preys on the young and innocent. In conclusion, the proposed narrative design emphasizes the cultural and intellectual values of Cebuano folklore and the means it gets told. The intellectual value of Cebuano folklore, particularly its strange lower mythology, is its apparent intrinsic link to morals within the context of Cebuano society. These stories serve as cautionary tales for society's youth, as well as ethical guides to be reflected upon by the elders of the community. Future works that will be derived from this proposed narrative design can illustrate the Cebuano moral horror's capacity for deeper societal reflection towards societal progress. I would like to invite and challenge authors to recollect Cebuano folklore and reimagine them in modern and meaningful ways to engage new, young readers not merely for their entertainment, but also for these readers' initiation to moral living. Before I end my presentation, here are the works cited in my article, as well as the sources of the images featured in my presentation, all of which are under Creative Commons license. I would like to thank everyone for their kind attention, and I would welcome inquiries and other information leading towards meaningful mutual discoveries.